Finding trigonometric values using the unit circle. Now, you'll notice I don't have a unit circle up there, and I didn't put it up there on purpose. And because we're going to use reference angles, and I'm trying to encourage you to memorize these special angles, what the cosine and the sine values are. So that's why I don't have a unit circle. I may include it on the next one, but I don't have it now. All right, so first we're looking at the cosine of pi over 4. Well, it's pi over 4, and it's going to be in the first quadrant. The angle is going to be somewhere like right about here, and we're coming right back to the x-axis, and so our reference angle is just pi over 4. And when I've got pi over 4, and let me do this too, all students take calculus. So in that first quadrant, all the functions are positive, and when we've got a pi over 4 reference angle, well, the cosine is square root of 2 over 2, and the sine is square root of 2 over 2. And we're just asked for the cosine, and so it is positive square root of 2 over 2. All right, now the sine of 120. Well, the sine of 120 is going to be in the second quadrant. And then what's my reference angle? Well, my reference angle is coming back down this way, and if I did it algebraically, I'd say 180 minus 120. So my reference angle is 60 degrees, and I'm in the second quadrant. Well, once again, my sine function is going to be positive in the second quadrant, and for a 60-degree angle, my cosine is 1/2, and my sine is square root of 3 over 2. So what's my sine of 120? Well, pretty simple. It's the square root of 3 over 2. Now, we're going to complicate it a little bit on this next slide. So now we're looking at the cotangent of 210. Well, first thing, let's think about, okay, where is this angle at? And if it's 210, it's going to be here in the third quadrant. What's my reference angle going to be? Well, let's see, 210 minus 180. So my reference angle is going to be 30. There's my reference angle. Now, when I got a 30-degree reference angle, again, let's do all students take calculus. Let's see, 30. Oh, yeah, that's where I'm at. Well, the cosine is square root of 3 over 2, but we're in the third quadrant, which means that's negative. And my sine is going to be 1/2. But it's also going to be negative, which is why my tangent function and its reciprocal cotangent is both positive, because both the cosine and the sine are negative at this point. So let's find the cotangent. Well, normally we would start off with, let's do it this way. If the tangent equals y over x, this means that the cotangent has got to equal x over y. So I'm looking then at negative square root of 3 over 2 over negative 1/2. Well, my negatives are going to cancel out the positives. And then if I'm going to take the square root of 3 over 2 and divide it by 1/2, well, that's the same as multiplying by 2 over 1, right? Multiplying by the reciprocal. My 2's cancel out, and my cotangent at 210 with a reference angle of 30 degrees is just simply going to be the square root of 3. All right, well, now let's look here at the secant. Okay, that's the inverse cosine function. 7 pi over 4. Let's figure out where 7, well, 8 pi over 4 would be 2 pi. So 7 pi over 4, well, let's do if I did 2 pi minus, which is the same as 8 pi over 4, minus 7 pi over 4 is going over 4, not 3. I don't know what I'm doing. That's going to equal pi over 4, right? And it tells me also that I'm in this fourth quadrant. Now, all students take calculus. Well, what's my reference angle? My reference angle is pi over 4. And at pi over 4, the cosine is the square root of 2 over 2. And the sine is the square root of 2 over 2. Then I'm thinking about all students take calculus. Well, my cosine's positive, but my sine will be negative. All right, okay. So now the secant is 1 over the cosine. So we got 1 over square root of 2 over 2. Well, that equals 1 times, excuse me, 2 over the square root of 2 multiplied by the reciprocal. And I got to rationalize that denominator. So let's do that right quick. Well, that's the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. That's going to give us 2 square root of 2 over 2. And my 2's are going to cancel out. And so my secant of 7 pi over 4 is just equal to the square root of 2. And it's positive because we're in the fourth quadrant. Memorize those special angles, the cosine and sine values of those special angles on the unit circle. We find the reference angle. We use our all students take calculus as to whether they're positive or negative, and shazam, we can solve them. You too can do it. Just do it.